Today we're going to show you how to install our new Twin Cam 6-speed Softail Mid Controls. These fit all Harley Softail models that came factory with a Twin Cam and a 6-speed transmission. Let's get started. First, we'll begin by removing the drain plug and draining the transmission fluid, which I've already done. Next, we'll remove the transmission side cover that the clutch cable goes into. We'll set that cover aside and clean off the gasket surfaces, wiping any residual oil that may come out after removing the cover. Next, we'll remove the 3 5/16 bolts from the transmission trap door. Now we'll take the right side mid-control bracket and install it, leaving out the bolt that doesn't have the washer attached to it. Now we will install the bolt with no washer. The reason why the bolt has no washer is because there is very little room between the bolt head and the clutch cable. If you do put a washer on this bolt, there is a possibility that the bolt will touch the clutch cable. Now I'll take my cordless impact and just run the bolts down, leaving them slightly loose, to come back and tighten with the torque wrench to factory specs. Wipe off all gasket mating surfaces to be sure they're free from any residual oil. I've already installed the drain plug and will begin reassembly. Install the gasket and then your transmission side cover. Next, I'll take the 2 outer bolts for the side cover and install those to hold the cover in place. I'll loosely tighten those bolts, then install the top 2 bolts. Now take the master cylinder assembly and the supplied brake line and screw them together. We'll leave the banjo bolt loose for the brake line fitting. That way we can move the line up or down as we need to. Now take the push rod and install it into the master cylinder. You'll see that there are 2 bolts, one is longer than the other, for the master cylinder mounting bracket. The longer bolt will go in the rear master cylinder hole, through the bracket, through the spacer, and into the bottom front hole of the transmission side door cover. Now I'll take the shorter of the 2 bolts, run that through the 1/4-inch bracket, through the spacer, and into the transmission. I'll loosely tighten these with my impact and come back with a torque wrench and tighten them to factory spec. After torquing bolts to factory spec, be sure to fill transmission to factory recommended level. Run the brake line so that it is free from any kinks, moving parts, hot exhaust parts, or anything that may damage the line. Take the brake fitting that will go on the caliper and screw it onto the line loosely. Next, take your banjo bolt out of the caliper and install it through the fitting and tighten everything securely. We include a brake light banjo switch that you can install into the master cylinder, which will replace the stock banjo bolt, or you can install it in the caliper in the back. If you're running an aftermarket caliper, be sure that the caliper has 3/8-24 threads, which is what the brake light switch is. Now we will begin assembly of the shift side. Next, remove the 3 primary bolts as shown. Now take the 1/4-inch bolts for the shift side and install the flat washers. Also put a drop of blue Loctite on each bolt. Install the 1/4-inch bolts for the shift side through the bracket and then install the spacers. Now take the whole shift assembly and install it on top of the primary cover. Now I slightly tighten the 3 bolts with my impact, being sure to come back with the torque wrench and tighten all 3 bolts to factory torque specs. Apply a drop of blue Loctite to the 5/16-24 fine thread bolt. Install it through the shift linkage and into the transmission shifter arm. This is a tight spot to get into with the normal Allen wrench. I like to use an intake wrench. You can also take an old junk Allen wrench and trim it down to be able to fit in the area. Once everything is tight, be sure to check shifting up and down. Make sure it goes into neutral fairly easy and that everything works smooth and free with no binding. Now you can install your shifter peg and foot pegs. Any shifter peg with a 5/16-24 thread pitch will work on our mid controls. Here we are installing our Bear Trap Mini toe pegs. These can be used on the brake and shifter side. Our Bear Trap pegs have a set screw in the end of the clevis so that you can adjust the pegs to any angle you desire. Now all that's left is bleeding the brakes, making sure all the pegs are tight, and giving the bike a good once over before taking it for a test drive. Be sure to head over to deathmetalracing.com and check out all of our products, and also be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks guys, have a great day.